In the heart of the whispering woods, where the trees dressed themselves in extravagant hues of gold, crimson, and rust, there resided a gentle dragon named Nimbroscale. With skin that gleamed like morning dew and soft amber eyes that sparkled under a canopy of autumn leaves, Nimbroscale was not just any dragon. He was the keeper of stories, a guardian of cozy corners and warm firesides. As the season painted the world in its warm embrace, he settled into his nook at the edge of a tranquil glade, a place where the air was thick with the scent of fallen leaves and the promise of evening spent in warmth. One crisp evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon and the stars began to twinkle like scattered dreams, Nimbroscale beckoned to you, his cherished visitor. "Come closer," he whispered, his voice as soft and smooth as the rustle of silk. "Let the coziness of this evening wrap around us like a warm blanket, for I have a story to tell, one that weaves through the tapestry of magic and the simplicity of living, especially during this enchanting autumn." As you settled into the soft grass, the warmth of the dragon's presence enveloped you. The flickering flames of his fire danced in rhythm with the breeze. "In a little village not far from here," he began, "there was a quaint cottage, overgrown with vines and surrounded by orchards bursting with gnarled apple trees. The town, known as Willowbend, was a mosaic of thatched rooftops, vibrant gardens, and paths lined with stones smoothed by time. More than the charm of its physical structure, what made Willowbend truly remarkable was its heart, a spirit alive with kindness and the laughter of its residents. Among the villagers was a young woman named Autum, whose laughter could rival the sweetest bird song. She was a weaver of dreams, not just with threads and fibers but also with the tales she spun. Autum had a rare gift. At twilight, she could hear the whispers of the earth. The rustling leaves spoke of ancient secrets, and the warm winds carried the emotions of those who passed by. As autumn settled in with its cool caress, Autum prepared for the annual harvest festival. Each year, the festival brought together the villagers for a night of stories, laughter, and the sharing of gratitude, and this year was particularly special for her. As she strung together a garland of golden leaves and bright red berries, she closed her eyes, summoning the whispers of the season. "Little do the villagers know," Nimbroscale continued, his voice a melodic hum, "that whispers in the woods can sometimes hold magic. There existed an unseen enchantment dormant for years, lying in wait for the right moment, a moment that could change everything." Autum pondered as she wove her garland, aware of the gentle energy humming through the air. Little did she know that a twist of fate awaited her, one that would lead her far beyond the familiar comforts of Willowbend. On the eve of the festival, as lanterns flickered to life and laughter filled the air, Autum ventured deeper into the whispering woods for inspiration, her heart buoyed by the ambience of joyful anticipation. The trees enveloped her in a mosaic of colors, and the air crackled with possibilities. "That's when she stumbled upon an old grove," Nimbroscale interjected, his eyes wide with excitement as he looked into the distance, where ancient trees towered like giants, their trunks gnarled with the weight of centuries. At the center of this grove stood a tree unlike any other, a sprawling oak, its branches heavy with golden acorns, each glinting in the moonlight like captured stars. That night, the tree gifted her something magical. Autum approached, her heart racing with a blend of curiosity and awe. "What will you show me, wise guardian?" she whispered softly into the night. The wind curled around her sweetly, wrapping her in warmth. Suddenly, a ripple of energy surged through the ground. Bright, shimmering lights began to appear around her. They formed delicate patterns in the air, swirling and twinkling like fireflies come to play. "Let your heart be open," came a voice, not of the woods nor the winds but of the oak. "For every heart carries the spark of creativity and desire." With a gasp, Aloan felt an unearthly warmth encircle her, allowing her to glimpse into the possibilities of dreams yet to be woven, tales that reached beyond the confines of her world. The grove transformed, revealing images swirling around her head, stories of love, bravery, loss, and hope. She gasped as she found herself entranced. "Create," the oak urged. "The magic of this season calls for stories that will echo through time." As she delved deep within herself, As she delved deep within herself, Aloan felt the threads of those visions settle gently into her hands, as tangible as wool fresh from the loom. The shimmering lights softened, drifting downward until they melted into the golden acorns above. One acorn loosened its hold and dropped into her palm, warm, pulsing faintly, like a living ember. "Carry this not as power," the oak whispered, its voice fading into the sigh of leaves, "but as remembrance. Magic endures when it is shared." The grove grew quiet once more. The ancient oak stood as it always had, still and watchful as though nothing extraordinary had occurred at all. Yet Aloan knew better. Cradling the acorn close to her heart, she made her way back through the woods, the path illuminated by moonlight and an unfamiliar confidence blooming in her chest. When she returned to Willowbend, the harvest festival had begun in earnest. Lanterns glowed like fallen stars, music drifted through the air, and the scent of spiced cider and baked apples wrapped the village in comfort. Aloan slipped into the circle by the fire, unnoticed at first, until someone called for a story. She hesitated only for a heartbeat, then stepped forward. As she spoke, her voice carried something new. The words seemed to rise on their own, weaving images so vivid that the listeners could almost feel them. Courage warming cold hands, grief easing into hope, love blooming even after loss. The fire crackled in approval, and the wind leaned closer, as if eager not to miss a single syllable. The villagers listened, rapt and smiling, some with tears shining softly in their eyes. And though none could see it, the golden acorn in Aloan's pocket glowed brighter with every shared breath, every quiet laugh, every sigh of wonder. When the story ended, silence held for a moment. Then applause burst forth like a joyful spell. Aloan laughed, her heart light, finally understanding that the magic she had been given was not meant to take her away from Willowbend, but to root her more deeply within it. "And so," Nimbroscale murmured, his fire settling into a gentle glow, "the enchantment awakened, not in the forest alone, but in the simple act of telling a story by warm light, among friends, in a season that teaches us how beautiful it is to let things glow before they rest." The dragon's amber eyes softened as he looked at you. Leaves drifted lazily around the glade, and the night hummed with peace. "Stories are like autumn," he said quietly. "They warm us, change us, and remind us to gather close." The fire crackled once more, and for a while there was nothing to do but listen, to the woods, to the silence, and to the gentle magic of being exactly where you are. Nimbroscale shifted slightly, folding one luminous wing closer as the night deepened, and the stars grew bolder above the glade. His fire dimmed to a steady, hearth-like glow, the kind meant for listening rather than spectacle. "But stories," he said gently, "do not end simply because a night grows quiet." Beyond Willowbend, change began to stir, not loudly, not all at once, but in the way frost first kisses the edge of a leaf. In the days following the harvest festival, villagers noticed small wonders. Bread stayed warm longer after leaving the oven. Laughter lingered in rooms even after conversations ended. Children dreamed more vividly and woke with ideas they were eager to share. And Aloan felt the whispers more clearly than ever before. Where once the earth spoke in murmurs, it now spoke in harmony. Threads of meaning connected footsteps to memories, gestures to emotions. When she wove at her loom, her hands moved with quiet certainty, as though guided by a rhythm older than language. Each tapestry she completed told a story without words, a farmer's perseverance, a midwife's tenderness, a farewell softened by love. One evening, as the first true chill of autumn crept into Willowbend, Eloin felt a familiar pull tug at her heart. The golden acorn, now nestled in a small wooden box by her bedside, pulsed with gentle warmth. She knew, without fear, that the whispering woods were calling her again. This time she did not go alone. 3 villagers joined her, chosen not by prophecy but by kindness. Bram the baker, whose hands healed more than hunger. Myra, a quiet herbalist who listened more than she spoke. And old Tamsin, who remembered stories long forgotten by ink and page. Together they walked beneath rustling boughs, lanterns swaying like patient moons. The woods opened for them willingly, paths appearing where none had been before. When they reached the ancient grove, the oak greeted them not with thunder or light but with warmth, like coming home. "You have shared," the oak intoned softly, "and so the circle widens." From its branches fell not acorns this time, but leaves each glowing faintly with gold-veined light. They drifted into the villagers' hands, dissolving into warmth that settled behind the heart. "These are not gifts of greatness," the oak continued, "but of continuity. Tend your lives with care, tell your stories, listen when the world speaks back." And so Willowbend became something rare, not famous, not powerful, but enduring. Travelers who passed through often lingered longer than planned. Some said the village helped them remember who they were. Others left behind pieces of their own stories, willingly, gratefully. Nimbroscale's gaze returned to you, the fire reflecting softly in his eyes. "The woods still whisper," he said, "and the oak still watches. Eloin still weaves. And you are listening now, aren't you?" A leaf drifted down between you and the dragon, glowing faintly before settling into the grass. "Every listener becomes part of the story," Nimbroscale murmured. "And every story, when shared on a quiet night like this, keeps the world just a little warmer." The fire crackled, the wood sighed, and the tale, though resting, was far from finished. Nimbroscale breathed in slowly, and with that breath the night seemed to settle into its final, perfect stillness. The fire shrank to embers, glowing like a promise rather than a flame. "There comes a moment," he said softly, "when even enduring stories must learn how to rest." Years passed in Willowbend, gentle and unhurried. Seasons turned like well-loved pages, autumn to winter, winter to spring, spring to summer, each leaving its mark and taking nothing it was not freely given. Eloin grew older, her hair silvering like frost on spun thread, her laughter no less bright. She continued to weave and to tell stories, but more often she listened, guiding others to discover the voices already waiting within them. The golden acorn never sprouted into a tree. Instead, it faded slowly, its light dispersing into the wood of Eloin's loom, into the beams of cottages, into the soil beneath Willowbend stones. The magic was no longer held, it was home. When Eloin felt her time nearing its close, she asked to be carried once more into the whispering woods. The villagers did not protest. They understood, as people sometimes do only after a lifetime of listening. At the ancient grove, the oak welcomed her without words. Eloin rested her palm against its bark, smiling. "I told them," she whispered. "I shared everything." The wind answered, tender and warm. When dawn came, Eloin was gone, but the grove felt fuller, as though a new ring had been added to the heart of the tree. From that day on, children born in Willowbend were said to dream of golden leaves and hear lullabies in the wind. Stories flowed easily there, passed not just by voice, but by kindness, by shared labor, by the quiet understanding that every life mattered. And Nimbroscale, gentle keeper of fires and tailies, remained at the edge of the whispering woods just as he always had. He watched the world soften and mend itself in small ways. When travelers grew weary, he offered warmth. When stories threatened to fade, he remembered them. At last his gaze returned to you. "This," he said, his voice no more than a breath, "is where the story ends, not because there is nothing more, but because it has given you what it can." The final ember dimmed, the leaves stilled, the woods exhaled. And as you rose to leave the glade, you realized something comforting and true. The warmth lingered, not from fire or magic, but from the quiet knowledge that stories, once shared, never truly disappear. Somewhere a dragon smiled, and somewhere else a story began.